Thursday, September 25th, 2025. And of course, a lot's going on in the world, and we'll be talking about that here on World Edition. And we'll see who joins us to discuss these various matters. But mystery drones over Denmark are hybrid attack, defense minister says. So, drones closed a Denmark airport for a second time in a week. And Denmark calls the drones near airport a hybrid attack as Norway police seized drone and Russia pleads ignorance. So definitely, Darius officials believe the drone flyover the four airports were meant to sow fear. Nicolas Sarkozy sentenced to 5 years in Libya campaign financing case. So court sentences former French President Sarkozy to 5 years in prison in a campaign financing trial. So definitely that is something that's going on in what folks are calling a stunning downfall. And apparently he used that money for his 2007 campaign. Trump's UN speech, no laughing matter, as body language shows. At the UN, Trump strikes radically different tone in public and private. So definitely, some folks are even fact checking Donald Trump's Europe claims in the UN speech. And definitely, there was a surprise from China and a warning from Ukraine. That was the key takeaways from the UN General Assembly on today. And a question of intent is what's happening in Gaza genocide. And the problem with Bernie Sanders is it genocide admission is what Al Jazeera was reporting 4 days ago. So definitely that's something that's still in the news as well. And a weakened storm Ragasi pushes across China's south coast after flooding. So Typhoon Ragasi tears through a Taiwan town, killing 14. And Hong Kong reopens after the world's most powerful cyclone Rakasi had gone through that area and everything like that. So it's left devastation across China, Taiwan, and the Philippines. And some people are asking why the Saudi levers of power are failing against Trump and Netanyahu's wall. So definitely that is something that folks are talking about in terms of Middle East politics. And Italy and Spain deploy Navy ships to assist Gaza aid flotilla. So Italy and Spain have deployed ships to help the Gaza aid flotilla targeted in the drone attack. So that's something going on, as well as Gaza aid flotilla reports explosions, drones, and radios jammed with ABBA music. And Israel strike kills dozens in Gaza City, hospitals say, as offensive expands. Israel bombing ground invasion of Gaza amplified with 38 killed. Palestinian Authority Mahmoud Abbas addresses the UN General Assembly earlier as well. And Israel strike kills Gazians sheltering, in warehouse, local reports say. And still, folks are talking about the Dallas ICE shooting. And of course, Trump is threatening layoffs amid Lumen shutdown. And Peter Matharika defeats Lazarus Chakwera in Malawi election, commission declares. So that's now official. I know we were talking about it on yesterday, but it looks like it's now official. So Malawi's 85-year-old ex-leader returns to power in presidential election. And apparently he won the election by a landslide after 5 years of economic crisis under Chakwera. And China's drone tech is powering Russia's kamikaze and recon flight. So Chinese drone experts worked with sanctioned Russian arms and all on those lines. So it looks like they helped Russia develop, that's the Chinese experts, Shahed-style attack drones, according to Reuters. And definitely that's something that folks are looking at as well. And speaking of drones fired by Yemen's Houthis wounded 22 in southern Israel in one of those rare breaches of their security, meaning Israel's security, as 20 were injured in Yemen drone attack on Israel, rescuers and military say. And Yemen drone attack injures more than 20 in the Israeli city of Eilat, including 2 in serious condition. And the world's biggest bike manufacturer warns of import delays after surprise U.S. customs ban. So giant brand bikes made in Taiwan have been barred by the Trump administration, and U.S. customs detaining giant bicycle shipments over forced labor allegations. So that's something else going on as well. and U.S. fighter jets scrambled to intercept Russian warplanes near Alaska. NORAD detects and tracks Russian aircraft operating in the Alaskan Air Defense Identification Zone. So NORAD tracked Russian bombers near Alaska in international space. And New York is trying to figure out how to deal with the influx of leaders at the UN General Assembly. So that's definitely something that folks are talking about as well. So something going on there. And we'll see how this all plays out also. And Palestinian President Abbas addresses the UN as U.S. hopes for a Gaza breakthrough. And Trump to host Turkey's Erdogan at the White House. So definitely, and there's even considered lifting the ban on F-3s in that particular case. We'll see what goes on in this meeting. So Reuters is asking what are the main disputes between Turkey and the United States as Trump meets Erdogan. So that meeting is set to happen, and we'll see what they say when they get together as well. As Israel isolation mounts at UN, full toll remains limited. So definitely that's something going on in the Middle East as well. And AI's double-edged sword, UN leaders weigh its promise and peril. AI must not decide humanity's fate, is what the UN chief warned Security Council. And can the UN new AI governance efforts weather the AI race? And government shutdown odds increase, and Trump shifts stance on Russia-Ukraine war. So definitely that's going on. Of course, people are still talking about Kimmel's return to late night TV, both last night as well as the first one back when he came back on Tuesday. And Ukrainian drones stage a new attack on a major Russian petrochemical complex. So video posts capture reported attack on Russian Black Sea naval base as Russia pummels Ukraine's energy. Kyiv hits back at its oil refinery. So it looks like they're going after the oil, and we'll see if this war is still continuing to rage, and we'll see how much longer it's going to go. And as Europe clashes with Putin, Ukraine says Russia's Sumy operation failed. So NATO divided on how to respond to repeated Russian incursions. German and Swedish jets intercepted Russian military planes over the Baltic Sea. So it definitely looks like they're expanding into other parts of Europe as well. And Putin is forced to raise taxes again as Ukraine war is draining his finances, and Putin signaled a tax hike to close Russia's budget gap. So Russia to raise value-added tax rate to 22% as war weighs on economy. The Russians are about to get a tax hike to pay for the war, and of course, state TV in that area tried to spin it in a certain way. And Pezeshkian vows Iran will never bow before aggressors as snapback sanctions loom. So Iran president accused U.S. of grave betrayal with nuclear strikes in UN General Assembly speech. Iran's president vows to never build a nuclear bomb in his UN General Assembly speech, and we'll see what folks have to say about that. And from anime to activism, how the One Piece pirate flag became the global emblem of a generation. So a symbol of liberation, how the One Piece manga flag became the symbol of Asia's Gen Z protests. So definitely they found a symbol that they like as well. And Poland seeks to ditch NATO EU approval to down objects over Ukraine. So a Polish shoulder, an unusual radar dot, and then NATO jet, what the New York Times was reporting. And Lawrence O'Donnell marvels at UK newspapers' utterly brutal description of Trump, is what HuffPost is reporting. And Thai authorities are rushing to battle Bangkok sinkhole. So, moment sinkhole pulls down power lines in busy Bangkok streets. So, Thailand is working to tackle a massive sinkhole in their capital. 160-foot deep sinkhole dramatically swallowed 3 vehicles after it suddenly forms on a busy highway. That is one big sinkhole. And Netanyahu takes an unusual flight route over Europe amid threats of war crimes arrests. So apparently he went over a different route in order not to get arrested. So his plane avoided France in flight to meet Trump in the U.S. For the first time, Netanyahu's plane extends U.S. flight route, avoiding certain European airspace. So heading to the UN, Netanyahu dismissed his Palestinian recognition as shameful capitulation. So we'll see what's got to go on in that space also. And Congolese bishops push for peace as massacres multiply. Faith groups launch a Congo prayer campaign amid a crisis of violence. And the bishop in Democratic Republic of Congo laments growth inequality as conflict continues. And 64 were killed in an attack on a Catholic parish. And the U.S. has a Gaza peace plan and hopes for breakthrough soon, says an envoy. And that was reported yesterday. Trump tells Arab leaders he won't let Israel annex the West Bank. So definitely he sounds like he is putting a line in the sand and everything like that. And we'll see if he actually backs it and all along those lines. And 4 killed and dozens injured in remote Latika as protesters seeking self-rule are clashing in that area. So looks like some folks that want self-rule are clashing in that part of the world. And Americans traveling to most of Europe will have fingerprints scanned under new rules. So biometric checks to visit EU could take 9 months to fully enforce. So what France's crackdown on British tourists means for you is what the Independent was reporting and how to navigate new post-Brexit border demands. So EU fingerprint scanners will not cause delays is what the Tunnel boss says, and all along those lines. So definitely there's a lot going on in the world, as I said. And J.D. Vance sparred with Jon Favreau over the Dallas shooting information. And definitely folks are asking what we know about the Dallas ICE facility shooting and the suspect. So the gentleman's name, it looks like, is Joshua John. And apparently he's been identified and all along those lines. And Alabama will execute a man for the 1997 shooting death of a store clerk. So the son of a mother killed by Godfrey West urges Alabama to halt the execution. But Alabama death row inmate got support from computation, also from the victim's son. So that's something going on. Is the son of the woman killed in the 1997 gas station robbery asked Alabama to spare the assailant set to be executed. And Trump demands investigation into alleged triple sabotage at the United Nations. Escalator and teleprompter humiliate Trump. So definitely that's something going on. After mechanical challenges, UN says Trump team to blame for the non-working escalator and teleprompter, but I guess he wants an investigation and all along those lines. But U.S. prosecutor to seek indictment of former FBI Director Comey in Virginia. So federal prosecutors reportedly gave U.S. attorney memo suggesting not to file charges against James Comey and all along those lines. And Kimmel nods to big ratings. Here goes Trump as an 80s movie style bully in his second day back on the air. There's that thread again. Kimmel addresses Trump's reaction to his return to the air. And Jimmy Kimmel returns from suspension, and his late night show reached rating highs. So Kimmel says there's plenty of room in the bad rating club. And European officials are fearing Trump is preparing to blame them for the Ukraine failure. And H-1B visa, U.S. tech sector scrambles in the face of these $100,000 fees that we've been talking about as well. And Republican Jack Ciattarella is in a dead heat with Mikey Sherrill in the New Jersey governor's race. Starting poll shows. So it looks like they're practically in the dead heat, and we'll see how this plays out as well. And U.S. fighter jets scrambled to intercept Russian warplanes near Alaska. And China offers sign of climate diplomacy's new landscape. So China doubles down on climate, wind, and solar pledges. And China led the nation with new climate plans defying the U.S. climate denial. And tensions are high in the Utah redistricting fight that didn't start with Trump. So after losing in court, Utah GOPers unveil an audacious scheme to create a new gerrymander and all along those lines. So like I said, there's a lot going on even in the U.S. as well. So I'm going to bring in Rick Rosner. I've got Sasha Starr. It looks like we might have Nick as well if he decides to get on camera. But what's on your mind, Rick?
So you mentioned, so Kimmel hasn't been pulling any punches on Trump. He hasn't changed his style at all. And he did note last night that he talked about bullies and talked about it's like being governed by Biff, who's the bad guy from Back to the Future. And he noted, but I don't think people really understood, the screenwriter of Back to the Future which came out, I think, 40 years ago,
Right.
said that he based Biff, who's a total dickhead, on Donald Trump, which is crazy because even 40 years ago, Donald Trump was a notorious dickhead. So Republicans like to say that we didn't start hating on Trump until he decided to run for president, but that's not true. Even in the 80s, people thought he was kind of a jackass.
Yeah, because wasn't there a reference to Trump in the Simpsons, and that was in the '80s as well. And I think
Yeah. Nick,
you
your
got
voice.
that crazy Mike voice going on, Nick.
Yeah. The Simpsons, they wrote an episode about the set in the future, I think with Lisa all grown up,
Right.
and they wanted the craziest, most awful possible president in the future, and they picked Trump.
Right, that's what I thought. I remember that episode. I might have even seen that episode. By the way, it looks like there's a tropical storm coming as well that could tangle with another developing storm, and that could have high stakes for me here on the East Coast.
Okay, recall that Donald Trump was a Democrat. Recall, Donald Trump was a member of the Democratic Party for years.
Yeah.
Then he switched over and became a Republican. So, and part of it, he goes, well, the Republicans are stupid enough to vote for somebody like me. And he was right. So, you have to give him a lot of credit. What really gets me is the stand that he's taken once again on medicine, which he has no clue what's going on. That cost him the election against Biden. I thought this guy is going to win again because the economy was actually humming. It doesn't matter what the Democrats say. You look at the metrics. The economy was doing quite well under Trump. Things were humming along, and people vote their pocketbook. Then the Donald came out and made just ludicrous, crazy moves in the medical area because he didn't know what he was doing. And he lost the election against Biden. And so now here's why I said it'll be interesting in the midterms. Who's going to make the big mistake in the midterms? If he was going into the midterms now, you'd have some very serious problems because the medical community, which is huge, is vastly against. The only two supporters he has will be Dr. McCullough and Dr. Malone. I call them the usual suspects. Those are the two anti-vaxxers, anti-everything. Buy my elixir, my magic medicine, and your life will be better. They have zero credibility in the medical profession, but the regular medical people are all against them. Then they co-opted the ICP. And now, this is funny, they're trying to say, well, the ICP agrees with us. Well, the ICP is RFK. So, of course, they're going to agree with this whole Tylenol thing. But this is really bad for the Republican Party. They have no idea. When Donald tries to pretend to be a doctor and know science when he doesn't know what he's doing, if he continues this, they will lose the midterms big time. And
medical coverage may shut down the government.
Yeah, medical.
Well, the government might be shut down because of what's happening without the funding, Rick. In other words, are they going to get together and they're going to vote to allow the government to continue being funded? And it's due on October 1st. In the meantime,
the Democratic leadership wanted to meet with Trump to talk about they're demanding that Trump restore.
They're throwing their demands up, and now the real question again is: are they willing to stab all their constituents in the heart to save their medical thing? I don't know. That's up to the leadership.
About medical coverage for 24 million Americans.
I know what they're trying to do, but I'm just saying, are they willing to sacrifice?
Wait. Can I ask a question though?
Yeah.
Why is it always the Democrats' fault when it's Trump who says he doesn't want to negotiate? So it's a take it or leave it situation. So why isn't it Trump or the Republicans' fault for not actually trying to negotiate and actually?
Because it's real simple. It's real simple, Jacoby. I mean, the thing is, the continuing resolution is basically to keep the government funded. Okay.
Yeah.
These what we're discussing are other issues. They have nothing to do with keeping the government funded. So what's happening is I'm going to use my power to shut down the government unless I get my way. It's a little Democratic temper
Hold on a
tantrum.
second.
That's incorrect. Hold on, real quick. Let me rebut against that real quick. Let me rebut against that real quick. Let me no. Hold on. What you're making is a false statement. What you're making is a false statement.
It is what it is.
So-
I don't know why you're
So
against it.
let me explain something, because in our politics, this is the same exact way negotiations are done. Every single continuing resolution since the dawn of time. So to say, oh well, it's the Democrats' fault because they're holding up everything and they're not even they're asking for a negotiation to take place, which has happened every single continuing resolution, including the time when the Republicans held up the continuing resolution. So again, I ask the question to you, Nick. I'm asking you a question. Now, the Democrats are talking about, hey, let's negotiate as we always do. The Republicans and Trump said, hey, we're not negotiating. You just have to take it or leave it. How is this the Democrats' fault?
Because, okay, it's real simple. This, A, has nothing to do with B, okay? A is, we want to keep the government funded or not. B is, let's negotiate the budget. Your time to negotiate the budget is during the budgetary process, not the time when people's paychecks are going to be held up. Now, I don't really care, and I don't think Trump really cares. If you want to fire
the dawn of our
more than happy
since
to fire
the
your
dawn
government
of our country, this has happened this way.
You know,
Since the dawn, you're being very disingenuous. You're being very disingenuous, and what you're saying is wrong.
No, you're saying wrong.
Yes, you are saying everything wrong.
You're trying to negotiate.
So again, why is this the Democrats' fault when the Democrats said, hey, we would like to negotiate? The actual individuals who have power said, no, it's take it or leave it.
It's not a negotiation position.
And it is the Republican and Trump's fault. If the government shut down, the Republican and Trump's fault.
Okay, you go ahead and do it that way, and then no matter what Trump says about medicine, you guys will lose the midterm.
Medicine is the man is fully the man. No, please don't go down that path. Nick, you've already lost this discussion. Don't go down the path and lose another one.
I already told you.
Hey, don't lose another one. You're already 0 for 1. Not go 0 for 2. Nick, again, you already lost this discussion. Let's not go. Rick, take it away.
I'm not sure that viewers like seeing you guys just yell back and forth at each other.
Yeah, that's true. That's very much true and everything. I did have a question for folks all along those lines, and this is about the government shutdown and another government. So apparently the U.S. is getting ready to bail out, because we're talking about shutting down the U.S., but we're also getting ready to bail out Argentina. So how do these two work together? Because apparently the U.S. says it's ready to support an Argentina bailout with a $20 billion swap line, according to Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, and everything like that. So we're worried about our government shutting down, but we're going to give $20 billion to Argentina. How does this work?
Because Argentina, the leader of Argentina is Trump's friend. That's it.
Yeah, it's straight up craziness, because Trump is America first unless a foreign strongman leader is Trump's buddy. But let's go back to the shutdown for a second. So it's not who's responsible, it's who will be seen as responsible in the eyes of voters. And Democrats currently are super pissed at the leadership for lying down. And so if the Democrats refuse to take the deal they're offered by the Republicans, which is a crappy deal, and the government shuts down, will the Democrats be able to win the public relations war and have people see that it's the Republicans' fault, since they own all arms of the government right now? I don't know. The Republicans are more aggressive and better at messaging.
No, they're much better at messaging. Speaking of messaging, everything like that, I got a question for everybody here on the panel based on something going on in Oklahoma, because Ryan
Before we
Waters.
go to Oklahoma, I think Rick touches on again the whole issue though, is that the reason we're in the position that we are is the messaging. And Rick, you're spot on with the messaging situation. The Republicans and the GOP are great at that. And yes, you're right. It's whoever is going to be seen as and not whoever's fault it is. And this is why we have to shut down the idea that, hey, the people that are trying to help or trying to negotiate are the bad people. And that's that talking point that's out there. And that's the talking point that needs to be shut down if we're ever going to change the message.
Yeah, and that's why I was going to go with my other question that I had for everybody on the panel. Because one of the other things that the Republicans have been doing lately, and they've not done it, they've done it before. They did it back in the Reagan era and everything like that. And that's where I was going with Ryan Walters, who was used to promote Bibles in the school. Is there some people that are thinking that we are in the midst of a religious revival and putting religion back in the schools and the states? And I had always heard that there was a separation of church and state and everything like that. So are we getting away from that? And is this a Republican push that
let's talk about why Ryan Walters, the superintendent of Oklahoma's public schools, is in the news.
Right.
He has decreed that every school in Oklahoma will have a branch, a club, some kind of a presence of Turning Point USA, which is Charlie Kirk's organization, in the school.
Mm-hmm.
So does that include, I don't know if it includes elementary schools, but every middle school, every high school. And then I tweeted a bunch yesterday making fun of him because Oklahoma is ranked 50th in public schools. Their public schools are crap. And Ryan Walters is he's the guy who wanted to buy $60 Trump Bibles, a Trump Bible for every public school. And then people got annoyed enough with him that I think he abandoned that plan. But also a bunch of MAGA people, several MAGA people responded to my tweet saying, okay, yeah, they're 50th, but it's not him. They're saying that the previous Oklahoma superintendent took the schools from 17th in the nation to 49th. And I didn't research it, but if they're right, then yeah, this guy's a kind of a dickhead, but it's not all his fault.
Well, in that same kind of like scenario, Youngkin, who I think is in Virginia, if I remember correctly, is urging the Turning Point crowd, because they're now still continuing the Turning Point tours and everything, to carry on Kirk's fight for faith and freedom, because that's part of their push is the faith movement and everything. So Megyn Kelly and Governor Glenn Youngkin headlined the Turning Point USA campus tour at Virginia Tech, and he was asking a lot of these young conservative college kids to be the next Charlie and everything like that. So, like I said, my question is: are we in the middle of a faith kind of like conversation going on in
the I see it as a showdown between the two Jesuses. The old school nice Jesus, who you always see him, he's got the long hair and he's holding on to a baby lamb. And then you've got the new Jesus, who's kind of a badass, and he's a zero-sum guy, and he says you got to be tough, and for you to win, somebody else has to lose, and we don't have unlimited resources, so we got to get rid of all the immigrants. It's the MAGA Jesus is a zero-sum tough guy versus the old school Unitarian Protestant, like all the girls who wouldn't go out with me in high school. Now that we're all in our 60s, they turned into plump little church ladies, very sweet ladies. And it's the sweet old, sweet old Christians, who, anyway.
I mean, the problem is, I'm breaking up that spot of the area.
Now you're good.
Yeah.
Okay. But when people said that we're turning The Handmaid's Tale into a documentary, that's what's going on.
Yeah, you are in a bad spot now. We'll wait till he gets back in a better spot and everything. Sasha, what's your take on all of this?
I'm not following that closely the U.S. issues. Um, it's like a boiling pot and something else happening every day, one way or the other way, but the sum is still remains the same, and nothing is really changing from day to day or even week to week. Okay, so there is a fight. Actually, I wanted to ask Rick, what would be the problem if there would be indeed a government shutdown?
It reduces international. Well, so I mean, it would be. You can talk more about it than I can, but that it would reduce international trust in the competence and reliability of the U.S. For instance, if we can let our government shut down at the cost of billions of dollars, it makes us a bigger credit risk, which means that if we want to sell bonds to fund our debt to internationally, we may have to pay more in interest. Is
I
my
don't think that would give Democrats some kind of a new angle, platform to criticize the present government.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say because the Democrats have been getting a bunch of crap from people for being pussies and just going along and not shutting down the government. And if they so people are yelling at Schumer and Jeffries, the Democratic minority leaders in the House and Senate, saying that they are not up to the demands of fighting back hard against this hardcore Republican insane government. And so the Democrats may try the strategy of letting the government shut down and hoping that people blame the Republicans.
That's exactly what they should do, in my opinion, because it's a it's a win-win situation. Either the Republicans would have to agree with Democrats on certain points, or it will go into a shutdown, and they could play that it was the Republicans who led to shutdown because they have complete power in all levels of government, and they just let it go. So maybe that's a way to do it.
Yeah. So yesterday I brought this up. I'll bring it up again because you know stuff that talking to our broker, we're like, uh, shouldn't shouldn't we rotate out of U.S. stocks into foreign stocks? Because if our government keeps being dysfunctional, the dollar will continue to lose value. And if we own foreign stocks, that's kind of like owning foreign currency. We're owning stuff that is valued in euros while the dollar is collapsing.
Yeah, there are ETF available for international stocks, and that's definitely something to look to play with. However, I think the down move on the market started a couple of days ago, but it's increased its downward movement today, and many stocks are going down. And I had quite a few positions that would win if the stocks are going down. And that's exactly what's happening today. So I cashed out some of my positions, and a lot of them are very easy. If you take a company, Rigetti Computers, it's I wouldn't say it's a meme stock, but close. But if you take financial information about that company, there's nothing to suggest present prices. And obviously, it had to stumble down, and it's what happened today. I already cashed half of my position. I still keep the other half. It will go down even more, I'm pretty sure. And even a company like JP Morgan, they will go down, and General Motors will go down. And so it's a beautiful time when you can short the stocks or buy put options on them. It's like money flowing into your pocket just without any efforts.
So can we talk about 1929 compared to 1929? All through the 1920s, it was the first time that a lot of just regular people jumped into the stock market and they pumped up prices insanely. In 1929, the prices started collapsing, and there was a recession, and then they passed a ton of tariffs in 1930, 1931, I guess, to try to protect America from the rest of the world, and it led to a worldwide depression.
Yeah.
How is that like?
Okay, it's very important to understand one thing, that at that time in 1920s and onwards, there were very popular kind of bucket shops where people could stop by, let's say during the lunch hour, and to say, okay, I want to bet on, say, General Motors, for example.
Or Radio Corporation of America was a huge stock.
Okay, that's fine. Radio Corporation. Okay, so he would post with the broker, say, $100. So now, from that point on, if stock is losing $100 or more, he's out. Thank you very much. Go back to your day job. Now, if the stock is going higher, then he's enjoying. Let's see, stock can go up, say, a few points, and he will make, $600-700 on $100 investment. So these bucket shops, they were almost on any corner in New York and some other big cities. So investors would flock in anytime in the morning, in daytime, even half an hour before the closing. They would put somebody $100, somebody $1,000, $500, whoever wanted to do that, and bet on the movement of prices. So when the price would go down against them, they would immediately lose all their money in a matter of a few seconds. And then, okay, so are you still there? Okay, you want to bet a little bit more? Maybe you'll get even. So that was a really fun time. And I wouldn't suggest that the prices were manipulated, but they went so far so quickly that it was a natural movement. If you look at movement of all stocks, they're not going straight up or straight down. They're moving in zigzags. They're making some kind of levels, and then they're moving down because people want to make some profit. New people coming in, so the stock going now higher, and it goes higher than previous high. So this is why a market is quite easily manipulated. So if you will paint the tape so it looks a certain way, you can induce.
So basically, it was a Ponzi scheme that they were sucking all these new suckers into the market, and they were pumping up prices with all the new people participating in the stock market.
Well, I wouldn't suggest that it was a manipulation because, it's a kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy that people want, it's a fear and greed, and the greed always wins. And when people coming with $100 and walk away with $300, at that time, we're talking about 100 years ago, people were ecstatic. It was better than sex. It was better than anything. You're coming with $100, and in 10 minutes you walk away with $300. Where else you can get that?
Okay, so I have breaking news about this Ryan Walters, superintendent of Oklahoma Public Schools.
Yes.
He's leaving. He's resigning as state superintendent and taking on the role as CEO of the Teacher Freedom Alliance.
Yeah, it sounds like it's basically a teacher's version of Turning Point, from what I can see.
I'm guessing, yeah, that's right. But this is also the guy. Ryan Walters is, he's a huge Christian guy. He's trying to get Christian values in school. He's also a guy who was caught during a Zoom meeting looking at porn. So there's a lot of discussion about that on Twitter.
Well, speaking of discussions on Twitter and everything, not on Twitter, but in USA Today, there was an interesting article about free speech, and we've been kind of alluding to it, but there was a notion, I'd love to hear what folks have to say to it. It's an opinion piece today that says that neither Republicans nor Democrats care about free speech, and that they have kind of reversed their role. So the argument that the article is saying is that Democrats are posting in all caps, protect free press, and legalize comedy. Meanwhile, Attorney General Pam Bondi is threatening to go after you if you're targeting anyone with hate speech, as if she were a progressive blogger from 2020. And they're saying that the irony is lost on directly everyone involved, as Democrats pretend that free speech erosions over the past decades never happened, and Republicans apparently forgot that they ever cared about the issue. So they're basically saying that both of the parties are at fault when it comes to this whole free speech argument and everything. So,
well, that's a false equivalency that they're making when they start out with that. One, they always try and point to 2020, always suppress speech and so on and so forth. They didn't suppress speech. What was going on is you had a global pandemic and an influx of misinformation that was getting more people killed. So the companies, not the government, the companies actually tried to get more information, legitimate information out there, rather than allowing people to flood the waters with misinformation, causing more death. So the companies actually did that. Yes, there's always free speech isn't always, like, you can't say bomb on an airplane. You shouldn't be able to say that. That incites violence or incites a problem. People have to understand that. Although there's consequences, so you can technically say it, but you're going to get arrested for saying it. So the Democrats thrown in there because of COVID and that situation, it really isn't a thing. But what's going on now is a direct attack on First Amendment rights. When you have the government, the head of the government, telling people that he's getting people kicked off the air, he wants to get people taken here, they want only good. If you report anything, it has to go through a government entity to be okay to be printed. If there's a complete difference, so it's creating a false equivalency to muddy the waters, to say both are the same, which they are not. Also, Mark, on a similar note to what we were similarly talking about with the martyrdom that has become of Charlie Kirk, which is sad because one, we can all acknowledge that what took place to him was tragic, but we cannot absolve him from his past. And I'm not trying to make this equation, but I am saying that there are similarities. The Twilight Zone episode in 1963, He's Alive, season 4, episode 4. Mark, if you could bring this up, this sounds scary.
So while you're bringing that up, I want to mention, Putin has been prodding at various NATO countries. He's flew jets over Estonia, he flew drones into Poland, and now his latest target appears to be Denmark, where a bunch of drones were flown over 4 airports in Denmark. What's he trying to do, Sasha?
He wants to get the point that NATO is absolutely helpless against hybrid war that Putin is conducting. And what's interesting is, if that's a way to conduct the hybrid war, he may not require to stop the war in Ukraine to continue harassing Europe. He can do both at the same time. And this is something, a new development that Europe is very much concerned. Now, they were talking United Nations meetings about requirements to shoot down every Russian aircraft, drone, or whatever it can fly anywhere over the NATO countries. And I think even Trump endorsed that. Although it's a kind of a tricky question, because in case of retaliation from Putin, where is going to be Trump? Is he going to support, or he says, well, I told you to shoot, but I didn't tell you that I will defend you against Russian retaliation. So this is a very tricky area, to tell us the truth, quite unpleasant for Europe, but it requires some kind of united response. And whenever Poland says that it will shoot any Russian object, plane or not, and
What's wrong with that?
Oh, that's Dr. Sharif. He's, I guess, in the background still.
Okay.
Oh, so anyway, Poland said that it will shoot any flying object, whether it's concerned, considering it could be Russian object or anything like that. And he asked Russians not to come to UN and cry baby that, oh, our plane was hit and so on. We will shoot every Russian aircraft, drone, or whatever.
Well, hey, Rick, I got a question for you.
Wait,
I
wait,
know-
Toby's got this thing to show.
Yeah, we're going to pull that up.
Yeah, this, like I said, this is actually freaky. This is from 1963.
I happen to feel your work is very important.
Are you one of us?
One of you, Mr. Foreman. You might say I am you. Now, I have some suggestions. I will continue to give you advice. But there is a matter of great importance that must be taken care of.
What is it?
An expedient, Mr. Foreman. Oh, you might call it a cause célèbre. Something to cement the organization together.
I don't understand.
A martyr. The organization needs a martyr.
A martyr? How do you find a martyr?
You do not find one, Mr. Foreman. You choose one. You take one of no value and you make him into a symbol. You wrap him in a flag and you make his death work for you. Find a man who is of no value while he's alive, but who can serve you when he's dead. Is there such a one?
A man of honor died last week. A decent, courageous fighter for the cause of freedom. Gave his life. He gave his life for us. Some skulking assassin murdered him. But friends and neighbors and co-fighters, Nick Bloss did not die in vain. He lives in you, and he lives in me. He lives deep in the gut of every human being who wants to see the United States of America be free. Do you want the United States of America to remain free? Yes! Do you want your homes infected with the vermin from foreign shores?
No! I happen to fear.
But yeah, I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. And by the way, question for you, Rick, along those same lines. It looks like that Erica Kirk is back in the news because she filed a $40 million defamation lawsuit against ABC, and I'm again that's partially around Jimmy Kimmel as well as The View. So definitely, this looks like this is a maybe rumor going on there that folks are asking whether it's true or not, but we'll see if that's the case.
I know. So Kimmel, in his monologue on Monday, had very nice thing to say, very brief but nice things to say about Erica Kirk, that she truly represents, America and Christian values by forgiving the shooter, which she did at that gigantic rally in her husband's memory.
Right.
So, and I'm sure that she has no leg to stand on, that nobody's defaming her.
And this was before
She's very performative, which is nothing against her. The deal is, like, it looks weird to libs such as myself, where she's a beauty pageant winner. She's Miss some state, she competed in Miss America or something, and her rhetoric, her way of speaking is like a preacher. She makes huge, like, emotional gestures. She makes a big angry face to express her grief. And I'm sure she's sincere, but it's it's big. It's like she's in a Broadway play, and this is probably part of her performative grief.
Yeah.
I think people are, because of the situation, and again, we have to be able to separate and have that nuanced that conversation. We can all empathize and feel sorrow for her and because yes, what her saying she can forgive the individual who murdered her husband. Again, we can all empathize with that. We can all say that that's a gracious move. And I don't think anybody's ever going to pick on her for that. What people are going to be upset at is, what Trump said right afterwards. The fact that I think his immediate family were the only ones there, but everyone else talking were politicians. It became a political show, and they were using his death as a way to garner support, and that's not her. She was trying to, she was grieving. But when Trump gets up there and says, "Hey, the radical left," and blah 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 blah, that's a campaign rally speech. He's trying to get people. Don't do that. That's evil. So yeah, I don't think people are going to ever be mad at her for saying that. They appreciate her for saying that, because it is gracious for her to say that.
Yeah.
She didn't sue Jimmy Kimmel. She sued The View.
So wait, I'm seeing the I can't click on anything. That there's some indication that this $40 million lawsuit is a product of a satirical website, that it's not really happening.
No, it might even be a lawsuit. Remember Donald Trump sued the New York Times. That already got bounced out of court. His $15 billion lawsuit.
No.
It didn't survive a motion to dismiss.
So this originated as satire, according to Snopes.
Yeah,
So that may all be fake. And that's the problem when you're looking at the news today. You may be just looking at garbage. I mean, stuff that's just made up. And you have to really work to find out what's true and what's Memorex out there.
Yeah,
but what is interesting, I guess, is that Erica Kirk and the organization she's now the leader of TPUSA.
Right.
They've been bringing in $1 million in donations every day since he was assassinated. So why would she sue? Anyway, I mean, she's not.
Yeah, she's not suing. That looked like that was a misstory and everything like that. But
All fake
like
people.
he is definitely going through and doing a lot of powerful things and making this organization that was already big under Charlie Kirk even bigger. And like I mentioned earlier, she's got different ones going on tour. There was one state up from us in Virginia and everything, where they're trying to get even more members. Who knows, they might come down to Duke and try to recruit some members.
And just imagine what it must be like to be her. She's not sleeping. And when she's awake, she has to be spending 14 hours a day taking over the leadership of her dead husband's organization.
Right.
And, we can argue about, was he a happy warrior who just wanted people to discuss their differences in, debate them, which is kind of a bullshit. I mean, that's not, that's a sunnier version of what he was up to, but
definitely a funny version. Hey, Rick, I got a question. This is as we're winding down a lighter story, but it's not totally light because it is something that is serious, even though not overly serious. But there seems to be in your neck of the woods, California, some very mean animals that are even putting signs up about them, because apparently there's some very mean squirrels that are seeking food that have sent at least 2 people to the ER in California. So what's up with y'all and y'all?
Our squirrels are sassy. I assume squirrels are sassy everywhere. They like to just make funny. They like to mess with dogs. Squirrels like to tease other animals. They come down a tree to right above where a dog can get at them, and they're like. and the dog goes crazy, and then they go back up the tree. It's weird how much of a sense of humor squirrels have. But really, the problem out here right now is young coyotes. Our neighborhood, I guess they were probably born back in March, and they're learning how to howl. And every night between midnight and 4 a.m., like half a dozen adult and young coyotes go crazy, and the noises they make are fairly blood curdling. And then we have to wake up. We have to make sure the dogs are inside because they'll tear a little dog apart. So yeah, it's also crazy that in a major city with 8 million people in it, how much we still have interactions with wildlife. We have bears who go take when it's hot in the summer, they'll go for a swim in your swimming pool. LA just built a $100 million wildlife overpass over a freeway so that mountain lions can cross the freeway without getting run over, because they get run over a lot. But yeah, LA is an area rich in wildlife.
Yeah, definitely rich in wildlife, and all along those lines and everything like that. I just found it hilarious that y'all had this sign and everything. I'm actually bring it up just because you'll get a kick out of this and everything like that. But that's the sign: attack squirrels, beware, and everything. And there's the picture of the flying squirrel. And they said this is not a joke. More than 5 people have been attacked by very mean squirrels over the past few days on Diablo Circle and Mount Lawson. Several have gone to ER for severe laceration. So apparently the squirrels are coming out of nowhere and will attack you just because they thief and everything like that. So yeah, you got these.
Who knows what squirrels are up to? We have crows. Crows, they're pretty smart too. And like sometimes a crow will, I haven't had it happen, but they'll dive bomb you.
You got to watch out with these animals. They will definitely dive bomb you. Just really quickly on another serious note, it looks like Kamala Harris is in the news again. She's reinforcing support for Zohran Mamdani on a phone call, and some people are also talking about her stance in her book and everything along those lines. So is Kamala Harris going to stay in the public limelight? Is she going to be the person that runs for president in 2028 or 2029? Because apparently Democrats are seething at her campaign book. And from tell all to end all, she said that there were some big career mistakes, and she admits she wasn't fit to be president without knowing it at the time and everything. So apparently people are even losing it over.
It's too soon to say. We are still more than a year away from the midterm. So we're more than 3 years away from the president. A ton of stuff can happen.
Yep, that's very true. Hey, just tell me, what do you think? You think Kamala Harris wants to be president still, or is she done with this dream and vision of being president?
I mean, I completely agree with Rick. I mean, honestly, yeah, we're nearly 2 years from everything taking place. There are other candidates. I really don't know if the candidate is out there yet, because with the youth movement that's taking place in the Democrat Party, and there's that split where the progressive wing is starting to get a little bit more airtime and a little bit more runtime. Because if you look at Mamdani, and the people are actually okay with Mamdani, because I mean, the populist movement that's going on, and he seems more like a populist, the same thing that Trump supposedly rode in on was being a populist, and that's he fell off of that quick. But right now, Mamdani has taken that mantle. He's fighting the man, and so I don't think the Democrats have their candidate yet.
In her book, she admits that she was looking at Pete Buttigieg as her VP candidate, and decided that America wasn't ready for a woman married to a Jew plus a gay guy. But he might be strong for, if he weren't gay, he'd be close to a not a perfect candidate, but a really good candidate. He speaks clearly.
I think that there will be a shift and I think Buttigieg Mayor Pete has a great shot. There's AOC has a good shot. Wes Moore has a good shot. Shapiro has a good. I just don't think that it's settled because I think Kamala Harris was the end of a wing of the Democrat Party, and the new fresh blood is coming through. So I think she's at that. She is that go-between. Because I don't think she was a bad candidate. I think she's a good person. I think she got dealt a bad hand and she was making the best out of it. She did make some stumbles along the way, but due to the fact that it was such a short run time, those stumbles became huge mountains that she had to overcome, and she couldn't overcome some of those mountains. She couldn't overcome those mountains. So had she had a longer run time, for example, had Biden did like he said he was going to do, just be a transitional candidate, instead of saying, I'm going to run again, I think if she were the candidate, she could have won. She just needed more time.
The Newsom, his style is probably indicative of what it'll take to win an election in 2028. That you've got no drama. Obama rode in with a very calm and he didn't like conflict, but now we don't know what Trump is going to be like by 2028.
Yeah, no idea of that and everything. We'll time to wrap up and everything, but we'll be back at 5 with world politics and all along those lines. So right now, get ready to get on out of here, and we'll see you at 5 o'clock.